Hello and welcome everyone. Is my voice clear and audible? Okay, so we'll begin with a short meditation. Sit back comfortably. Is my voice clear and audible? Okay. Withdraw your attention from the outside world and bring it to yourself. Imagine yourself standing in a warm golden light that represents God's love. This light is gentle yet powerful, and it's filling every cell of your body. As you breathe in, repeat the phrase, I am worthy of God's love to yourself. Allow these words to sink deeply into your mind and heart. Now imagine that with each breath, God's love is pouring into your heart, filling any spaces that may have left empty or wounded. Visualize this love as a warm, soothing balm that's healing you. As you exhale, repeat the phrase, I trust in God's love to yourself. Allow this trust to grow and deepen within you. Remember, God's love is not something that you have to earn or deserve. It's a gift that's always available to you no matter what. As you continue to breathe in, imagine that God's love is all flowing from your heart and filling the world around you. Visualize this love touching the hearts of those you care about and spreading out into the world, bringing healing wherever it goes. Okay, so we'll begin with today's session. Okay. Is my voice clear and audible?
Yes, sister.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
I was going to say, and she said that's why I laughed.
Okay, okay, thank you so much, both of you. Okay, I'll just share the screen with you. Hanji. Okay, so today we're going to begin from this paragraph here. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about enlightened teachers. So here the author is saying that use the master's presence to reflect your own identity beyond name and form back to you, and to become more intensely present yourself. You will soon realize that there is no mine or yours in presence. Presence is one. तो कल हम जो बात कर रहे थे अबाउट स्पिरिचुअल टीचर जो हमारे मास्टर्स हैं जिससे हम सीखते हैं अबाउट स्पिरिचुअलिटी तो यहाँ पे ऑथर ये समझा रहे हैं कि उनकी आइडेंटिटी से हमें अपनी खुद की पहचान करनी है वी हैव टू लर्न अबाउट हु वी आर एंड अंडरस्टैंड कि प्रेजेंस इज वन इट्स द सेम उसमें कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है Group work can also be helpful for intensifying the light of your presence. A group of people coming together in a state of presence generates a collective energy field of great intensity. तो ये हमारे लिए ही ऑथर कह रहे हैं ये जो हम ग्रुप में रीडिंग सेशंस करते हैं रोज तो इन सब से हम सबको बहुत हेल्प होती है इट हेल्प्स अस अंडरस्टैंड एंड लर्न फ्रॉम ईच अदर so this is also a great blessing that we are all together. It not only raises the degree of presence of each member of the group, but it also helps to free the collective human consciousness from its current state of mind dominance. This will make the state of presence increasingly more accessible to individuals. However, unless at least one member of the group is already firmly established in it and thus can hold the energy frequency of that state, the egoic mind can easily reassert itself and sabotage the group's endeavors. तो इसमें ऑथर ये समझा रहे हैं कि जब हम ग्रुप में एक कलेक्टिवली चाहे वो रीडिंग करते हैं या मेडिटेट करते हैं तो at least one person, should be, spiritually awakened, to be able to bring the group together. Because अगर उसमें से कोई नहीं होगा awakened तो egoic mind जैसे mind हम पे भारी हो सकता है. So someone has to be on this path. They should be like a teacher or someone who's been on this journey for a long period of time who can help the others as well. Although group work is invaluable, it is not enough, and you must not come to depend on it. Nor must you come to depend on a teacher or a master, except during the transitional period when you are learning the meaning and practice of presence. तो ये भी ऑथर बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट समझा रहे हैं कि किसी पे डिपेंड नहीं करना है चाहे वो हमारे टीचर या मास्टर भी हो सिर्फ इनिशियली जब इतनी अवेयरनेस नहीं होती जब हम खुद सीख रहे हैं तब हम ऑब्वियसली हेल्प ले सकते हैं बट उसके बाद हमें अपनी जर्नी खुद हमें खुद से अपनी जर्नी करनी है वी डोंट हैव टू डिपेंड ऑन एनीबॉडी खुद से प्रेजेंट में रहने की प्रैक्टिस करनी है. Okay, so now we move on to the next chapter. Chapter 6, The Inner Body. Being is your deepest self. Okay. You spoke earlier about the importance of having deep roots within or inhabiting the body. Can you explain what you meant by that? The body can become a point of access into the realm of being. Let's go into that more deeply now. I'm still not quite sure if I fully understand what you mean by being. तो यहाँ पे जो सीकर है वो अभी भी कह रहे हैं कि मुझे प्रॉपरली समझ नहीं आ रहा, माइंड को हम लॉजिक से नहीं समझा सकते व्हाट बीइंग इज, व्हाट सोल कॉन्शियसनेस इज। तो अभी ऑथर एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं वाटर। व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय दैट? आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड इट। दिस इज व्हाट अ फिश वुड से इफ इट हैड अ ह्यूमन माइंड। यू नो एक फिश की एग्जाम्पल से ऑथर समझा रहे हैं कि अगर हम फिश को भी पूछेंगे ना कि पानी क्या है, तो वो भी बोलेंगे कि आई डोंट नो, उसका क्या मतलब है। तो प्लीज स्टॉप ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड बीइंग. You have already had significant glimpses of being, but the mind will always try to squeeze it into a little box and then put a label on it. It cannot be done. It cannot become an object of knowledge. In being, subject and object merge into one. तो यहाँ पे ऑथर बहुत क्लियरली ये समझा रहे हैं कि हम अपने लॉजिकल माइंड से नहीं अंडरस्टैंड कर सकते, व्हाट बीइंग इज, व्हाट सोल इज। क्योंकि माइंड बार बार जब भी हम इस अवेयरनेस में भी आएंगे कि हम ये माइंड बॉडी नहीं है, तो भी माइंड बार बार क्वेश्चंस क्रिएट करेगा, कि ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है, इसमें क्या लॉजिक है। तो वही ऑथर समझा रहे हैं कि वी कैन नॉट try to understand or use any logic to understand being and soul consciousness. Being can be felt as the ever present I am that is beyond name and form. To feel and thus to know that you are, and to abide in that deeply rooted state is enlightenment, is the truth that Jesus says will make you free. So, being is not something to be understood, it is something to be felt. ये जब तक आप खुद एक्सपीरियंस नहीं करोगे, जब तक आपको, तब तक आप किसी को समझा नहीं सकते या एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकते, या कोई लॉजिक हम इसमें यूज नहीं कर सकते। इट इज ऑल टू बी एक्सपीरियंस्ड, इट इज ऑल टू बी फेल्ट। तो यहाँ पे सीकर पूछ रहे फ्री फ्रॉम व्हाट? Free from the illusion that you are nothing more than your physical body and your mind. This illusion of the self, as the Buddha calls it, is the core error. Free from fear in its countless disguises as the inevitable consequence of that illusion. The fear that is your constant tormentor as long as you derive your sense of self only from this ephemeral and vulnerable form, and free from sin, which is the suffering you unconsciously inflict on yourself and others, as long as this illusory sense of self governs what you think, say, and do. तो जब तक हम इल्यूजन ऑफ सेल्फ में है, तब तक हम फ्री नहीं हो सकते। इल्यूजन ऑफ सेल्फ क्या है? दैट आई एम दिस बॉडी, आई एम दिस माइंड, आई एम दीज थॉट्स। तो जब तक हम इससे इससे अपने आप को डिटैच नहीं करेंगे, हम फ्री नहीं हो सकते। फ्री फ्रॉम फेयर नहीं हो सकते, फ्री फ्रॉम सफरिंग। इन सब चीजों से हम फ्रीडम पा ही नहीं सकते। Look beyond the words. I don't like the word sin. It implies that I'm being judged and found guilty. I can understand that. Over the centuries, many erroneous views and interpretations have accumulated around words such as sin due to ignorance, misunderstanding, or a desire to control. But they can contain an essential core of truth. If you're unable to look beyond such interpretations and so cannot recognize the reality to which the word points, then don't use it. Don't get stuck on the level of words. तो ऑथर ये कह रहे हैं कि पिछले कितनी सेंचुरी से ये सब वर्ड्स यूज हो रहे हैं, सिन जैसे, कि व्हेन यू डू समथिंग दैट्स रियली मॉरली रॉन्ग, इट्स अ सिन। तो वो ऑथर कह रहे इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग, लोगों को जो कोर एसेंस है, कोर ट्रूथ है, वो पता ही नहीं था, इसलिए ये सब वर्ड्स यूज हो रहे थे। तो तभी ऑथर कह रहे हैं कि अगर आप उस वर्ड के जो वो क्यों यूज हो रहा है वो आप नहीं इंटरप्रेट कर पा रहे, तो डोंट गेट स्टक ऑन द लेवल ऑफ वर्ड्स। A word is no more than a means to an end. It's an abstraction. Not unlike a signpost, it points beyond itself. The word honey isn't honey. You can study and talk about honey for as long as you like, but you won't really know it until you taste it. मतलब यहाँ पे हनी का एग्जाम्पल दिया है ऑथर ने कि हम बता सकते हैं हनी के क्या बेनिफिट्स है, कैसा है, बट हमें जब तक टेस्ट नहीं करेंगे वी वोंट नो व्हाट इट इज। After you have tasted it, the word becomes less important to you. You won't be attached to it anymore. Similarly, you can talk or think about God continuously for the rest of your life. But does that mean you know or have even glimpsed the reality to which the word points? It really is no more than an obsessive attachment to a signpost, a mental idol. गॉड के बारे में भी हम सारी नॉलेज दे सकते हैं, हम बात कर सकते हैं, हम टेम्पल्स जा सकते हैं, बट जब तक हमने वो फील नहीं किया है कि व्हाट एक्चुअली इज गॉड, व्हाट एक्चुअली इज फीलिंग गॉड्स लव, फीलिंग गॉड विथ अस कॉन्स्टेंटली, जब तक हमने वो एक्सपीरियंस नहीं किया, जब तक हमने वो एक्सपीरियंस को टेस्ट नहीं किया है, तब तक it is just mere words, they don't mean anything. The reverse also applies. If for whatever reason you disliked the word honey, that might prevent you from ever tasting it. If you had a strong aversion to the word God, which is a negative form of attachment, you may be denying not just the word, but also the reality to which it points. You would be cutting yourself off from the possibility of experiencing that reality. All this is, of course, intrinsically connected with being identified with your mind. तो कभी कभी कैसे ऐसे होता है कि बहुत सारे जैसे हमारे कार्मिक अकाउंट से आते हैं, और लाइफ बहुत डिफिकल्ट होती है, एंड देन ये क्वेश्चन भी आता है ना हमारे माइंड में कि गॉड सच में है, इफ देयर इज गॉड तो इतनी सफरिंग क्यों है। तो दैट गिव्स अस अ वेरी नेगेटिव इमेज ऑफ गॉड। तो फिर क्या है, जैसे ऑथर कह रहे हैं, जब हमें एक वो नेगेटिव एक इमेज हमारी बन चुकी है कि नहीं, ये सब सफरिंग क्यों होती है अगर गॉड है, तो फिर हम वो उस वो गॉड को एक्सपीरियंस भी नहीं कर पाते, उस रियलिटी को, वी कट आवर सेल्फ फ्रॉम इट। व्हाई? बिकॉज हम बहुत ज्यादा अपने माइंड से अटैच्ड है, we are too much identified with our mind. So if a word doesn't work for you anymore, then drop it and replace it with one that does work. If you don't like the word sin, then call it unconsciousness or insanity. That may get you closer to the truth, the reality behind the word, than a long misused word like sin, and leaves little room for guilt. तो वही ऑथर समझा रहे हैं कि अगर आपको ये जो सिन वर्ड है बहुत ज्यादा नेगेटिव लगता है, या आप उससे बहुत ज्यादा गिल्ट में जाते हो, तो डोंट यूज इट। वी कैन कॉल बिहेवियर दैट वी डन, वी कैन कॉल इट अनकॉन्शियस बिहेवियर, क्योंकि वो अवेयरनेस नहीं थी। तो वंस वी स्टार्ट गेटिंग अवेयर ऑफ द ट्रुथ, वी स्टॉप यूजिंग ऑल दीज वर्ड्स, ताकि वो गिल्ट ना बिल्डअप हो हमारे अंदर। आई डोंट लाइक दोज वर्ड्स ईदर। तो यहाँ पे सीकर कह रहे हैं कि मुझे वो वर्ड्स भी नहीं पसंद। दे इम्प्लाई दैट देर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग विद, आई एम बीइंग जज्ड। ऑफ कोर्स देर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग विथ यू एंड यू आर नॉट बीइंग जज्ड। I don't mean to offend you personally, but do you not belong to the human race that has killed over 2 million members of their own species in the 20th century alone. तो ना यहाँ पे जो ऑथर है वो कह रहे हैं कि there is something wrong with all of us because human race has been, mind conscious, body conscious, and उसी body consciousness में इतनी सारी deaths हो रही हैं, इतनी सारी killings हो रही हैं, तो वही ऑथर कह रहे हैं कि there is something wrong and we need to get aware about that. इसमें कोई जजमेंट नहीं है बट इसकी अवेयरनेस और अंडरस्टैंडिंग होनी बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. You mean guilt by association? It's not a question of guilt, but as long as you are run by the egoic mind, you are part of the collective insanity. मतलब जब तक हम भी अपने माइंड से आइडेंटिफाइड हैं, जब तक हम भी अपने माइंड के इन्फ्लुएंस में आके रिएक्ट कर लेते हैं, या कुछ भी नेगेटिव में इन्वॉल्व हो जाते हैं जस्ट बिकॉज वी आर बीइंग कंट्रोल्ड बाय द माइंड, तो वी आर ऑल्सो इक्वली रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर वट एवर इज हैपनिंग ऑन द प्लैनेट. हमें भी उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेनी पड़ेगी. Perhaps you haven't looked very deeply into the human condition in its state of dominance by the egoic mind. Open your eyes and see the fear, the despair, the greed, and the violence that are all pervasive. See the heinous cruelty and suffering on an unimaginable scale that humans have inflicted and continue to inflict on each other as well as on other life forms on the planet. You don't need to condemn, just observe. That is sin. That is insanity. That is unconsciousness. यहाँ पे ऑथर कह रहे हैं आप देखो, अभी planet अर्थ पे क्या हो रहा है. इतनी जो killings हो रही है, जो सफरिंग है, क्रूएल्टी है, heinous crimes है, वो क्यों हो रहे हैं. मतलब उसको ऑब्जर्व करो कि why is all this happening? It is because of body consciousness. तो इसकी अवेयरनेस होना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. Above all, don't forget to observe your own mind. Seek out the root of the insanity there. तो सबसे पहले एक ऑब्जर्व करना है कि प्लैनेट में क्या चल रहा है, और फिर अपने माइंड को ऑब्जर्व करना है कि कैसे थॉट्स चलते हैं, क्या नेगेटिविटी चलती है. Am I these negative thoughts? No. I'm the awareness behind it. I'm a soul that is pure, that is perfect, that is immortal. तो अपने आप में पहले ये अवेयरनेस लानी बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, और जो भी आसपास हो रहा है उसकी भी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेनी पड़ेगी. Finding your invisible and indestructible reality. You said that identification with our physical form is part of the illusion. So, how can the body, the physical form, bring you to a realization? तो यहाँ पे सीकर जो है पूछ रहे हैं कि अपने आप को इस फिजिकल फॉर्म से आइडेंटिफाई करना इल्यूजन है. तो ये जो बॉडी है ये हमें कैसे, हाउ कैन इट ब्रिंग अस इनटू अ रियलाइजेशन, कैसे अवेयरनेस हो सकती है हमें. तो यहाँ पे ऑथर समझा रहे हैं, द बॉडी दैट यू कैन सी एंड टच cannot take you into being, but that visible and tangible body is only an outer shell, or rather a limited and distorted perception of a deeper reality. तो जब तक हम ये बॉडी कॉन्शियसनेस में है, जब तक हम ये बॉडी हम जो देखते हैं वो, till the time we associate ourselves with this body we cannot feel the truth, the being. And the being is something we cannot see, we cannot touch, हम देख नहीं सकते. In your natural state of connectedness with being, this deeper reality can be felt every moment as the invisible inner body, the animating presence within you. So, to inhabit the body is to feel the body from within, to feel the life inside the body, and thereby come to know that you are beyond the outer form. To connect with the being, हमें अपनी deeper reality को realize करना है, अपने awareness अंदर से, by connecting with ourselves, by meditating, अपने आप के साथ जब हम time spend करते हैं, then we understand what the true self is, which is beyond the outer form. But that is only the beginning of an inward journey that will take you ever more deeply into a realm of great stillness and peace, yet also of great power and vibrant life. At first, you may only get fleeting glimpses of it, but through them, you will begin to realize that you are not just a meaningless fragment in an alien universe, briefly suspended between birth and death, allowed a few short lived pleasures, followed by pain and ultimate annihilation. Underneath your outer form, you are connected with something so vast, so immeasurable and sacred that it cannot be conceived or spoken of. Yet I am speaking of it now. I am speaking of it not to give you something to believe in, but to show you how you can know it for yourself. तो ऑथर यही समझा रहे हैं कि जब हम ये अपनी इनवर्ड जर्नी जब हम मेडिटेशन में बैठते हैं जब अपने आप से कनेक्ट करते हैं जब हम वो पीस वो स्टिलनेस वो साइलेंस को फील करते हैं तब हमें अवेयरनेस आनी शुरू हो जाती है कि हम ये कोई वी आर नॉट जस्ट दिस मीनिंगलेस बॉडी दैट कम्स इनटू बर्थ एंड डेथ जो कुछ few moments of pleasure के लिए हम आए हैं इस planet पे. We are not that. We are something that is, we are immortal. We are connected to the immeasurable, you know, immortal. Uh, you that's what we start understanding when we start sitting with ourselves. And this is something that cannot be explained with words. This is something that is experienced, that is felt. You are cut off from being as long as your mind takes up all your attention. When this happens, and it happens continuously for most people, you are not in your body. The mind absorbs all your consciousness and transforms it into mind stuff. तो जब तक हम माइंड आइडेंटिफाइड है हम बीइंग को एक्सपीरियंस कर ही नहीं सकते क्योंकि वही ऑथर कह रही है इट हैपेंस विद अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल मोस्ट पीपल के साथ यही है कि जो माइंड है इट सारा हमारी एनर्जी अब्सॉर्ब कर लेता है You cannot stop thinking. Compulsive thinking has become a collective disease. Your whole sense of who you are is then derived from mind activity. Your identity, as it is no longer rooted in being, becomes a vulnerable and ever needed mental construct, which creates fear as the predominant underlying emotion. The one thing that truly matters is then missing from your life awareness of your deeper self, your invisible and indestructible reality. तो ये यहाँ पे ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट ऑथर ने कहा है कंपल्सिव थिंकिंग हैज बिकम अ कलेक्टिव डिजीज ये ओवर थिंकिंग जो एक माइंड की हैबिट बन चुकी है जो कॉन्स्टेंटली जो नेगेटिव थॉट्स आते रहते हैं तो इट्स बिकम लाइक ए डिजीज तो जब तक हम ये माइंड आइडेंटिफाइड हैं हम अपने आप को एक्सपीरियंस कर ही नहीं सकते हमारे ट्रू सेल्फ को हमारे सोल को वी कांट एक्सपीरियंस ट्रू लव प्योर लव जब तक हम ये माइंड से आइडेंटिफाइड हैं To become conscious of being, you need to reclaim consciousness from the mind. This is one of the most essential tasks on your spiritual journey. It will free vast amounts of consciousness that previously had been trapped in useless and compulsive thinking. तो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है अपने माइंड से डिसआइडेंटिफाई करना, स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी में द फर्स्ट स्टेप इज स्टार्ट बिकमिंग aware of our thoughts, start observing them, start becoming a detached observer. A very effective way of doing this is simply to take the focus of your attention away from thinking and direct it into the body, where being can be felt in the first instance as the invisible energy field that gives life to what you perceive as the physical body. तो यहाँ पे ऑथर कह रहे हैं सबसे इफेक्टिव वे कौन सा है कि जब हमें ये थॉट्स आ रहे हैं, जब एक नेगेटिव थॉट पैटर्न हमारे अंदर चल रहा है, हम उसको ऑब्जर्व करना शुरू करें और अपनी जो एनर्जी है वो इनवर्ड्स डायरेक्ट करें। हो सकता है थोड़ी देर बैठे, साइलेंस में बैठे, अपनी एनर्जी को इनवर्ड्स फील करें, and maybe कुछ journaling करें, कुछ लिखें, that will start helping us to become more soul conscious and to, help us to take, uh, feel ourselves, feel our true selves, become more soul conscious. Connecting with the inner body. Please try it now. You may find it helpful to close your eyes for this practice. Later on, when being in the body has become natural and easy, this will no longer be necessary. Direct your attention into the body. Feel it from within. Is it alive? Is there life in your hands, arms, legs, and feet, in your abdomen, your chest? तो ये अभी हम try करते हैं. Let's all close our eyes and just feel ourselves from within. Can you feel the subtle energy field that pervades the entire body and gives vibrant life to every organ and every cell? Can you feel it simultaneously in all parts of the body as a single field of energy? Keep focusing on the feeling of your inner body for a few moments. Do not start to think about it. Feel it. Do not start to think about it, just feel it. The more attention you give it, the clearer and stronger this feeling will become. It will feel as if every cell is becoming more alive and you have a strong visual sense. You may get an image of your body becoming luminous. Although such an image can help you temporarily, pay more attention to the feeling than to any image that may arise. तो हो सकता है जब हम ऐसे साइलेंस में बैठे, मेडिटेशन में बैठे, हमें कोई इमेजेस दिखाई दे, लाइट बॉडी की, बट हमें उस इमेज पे ध्यान नहीं देना है, हमें अपने फीलिंग पे ध्यान देना है, व्हाट वी आर फीलिंग, क्योंकि जो इमेजेस हैं दे आर ऑल टेम्पररी. An image, no matter how beautiful or powerful, is already defined in form, so there is less scope for penetrating more deeply. तो जब हमें कोई इमेज दिखता है, इट इज ऑलरेडी अ फॉर्म, तो फिर हम वही फॉर्म में फंस जाते हैं, फिर हम वो डीप रियलिटी जो फॉर्मलेस है उसको एक्सपीरियंस नहीं कर पाते, वो फिर एक सॉर्ट ऑफ ब्लॉकेज हो जाती है. The feeling of your inner body is formless, limitless, and unfathomable. You can always go into it more deeply. If you cannot feel very much at this stage, pay attention to whatever you can feel. Perhaps there is just a slight tingling in your hands or feet. That's good enough for the moment. Just focus on the feeling. तो ज्यादा हमें डीप नहीं जाना, जो थोड़ा भी अगर हमें फील हो रहा है, हैंड्स और लेग्स में कुछ सेंसेशंस फील हो रही है, जस्ट फोकस ऑन दैट एट द मोमेंट. Your body is coming alive. Later, we will practice some more. Please open your eyes now, but keep some attention in the inner energy field of the body. Even as you look around the room, the inner body lies at the threshold between your form identity and your essence identity, your true nature. Never lose touch with it. So, even after we, complete our meditation, जब भी हम ऐसे silence में बैठे, तो जब हम उठे भी तो हम एक वो अपना inner self जो हम experience किया उसको अपने साथ अपनी true essence, true identity, true nature को अपने साथ रखें constantly उससे कभी उसको कभी lose नहीं करना उसको हमेशा अपनी एक awareness में रखना है transformation through the body. Why have most religions condemned or denied the body? It seems that spiritual seekers have always regarded the body as a hindrance or even as sinful. Why have so few seekers become finders? On the level of the body, humans are very close to animals. All the basic bodily functions, pleasure, pain, breathing, eating, drinking, defecating, sleeping, the drive to find a mate and procreate, and of course, birth and death, we share with the animals. A long time after their fall from a state of grace and oneness into illusion, humans suddenly woke up in what seemed to be an animal body, and they found this very disturbing. Don't fool yourself, you are no more than an animal. This seemed to be the truth that was staring them in the face, but it was too disturbing a truth to tolerate. Adam and Eve saw that they were naked and they became afraid. Unconscious denial of their animal nature set in very quickly. The threat that they might be taken over by powerful instinctual drives and revert back to complete unconsciousness was indeed a very real one. Shame and taboos appeared around certain parts of the body and bodily functions, especially sexuality. The light of their consciousness was not yet strong enough to make friends with their animal nature, to allow it to be and even enjoy that aspect of themselves, let alone go deeply into it to find the divine hidden within it, the reality within the illusion. So they did what they had to. They began to disassociate from their body. They now saw themselves as having a body rather than just being it. तो हम यहाँ पे एंड करते हैं ये ना कल हम दोबारा इसके बारे में बात करेंगे जो ये पैराग्राफ हमने पढ़ा है तो we'll go into the detail of this tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining today. We'll end our session here and see you all tomorrow.